Welcome to the show with no name for December the 14th, 2012. I think I've got a couple of friends who have birthdays today, so happy birthday to them. I don't think they watch the show though.
Well, we're going to miss it then.
Barbara Keller Baker down in Maryland someplace. Friend from college. Barbie Jean, happy birthday to you. Yesterday was Little Bob's birthday.
Yes.
Yeah, and it was also the Woolman twins. Their birthday was yesterday. Joe Woolman's twin girls, who are they seniors in high school now? I forget. Oh my God.
They're up there a ways.
Yeah. Yeah, seems like yesterday. Yeah.
Going quick.
It's Tom Brownell's birthday yesterday.
Yeah, I heard that announced on the radio.
And who else? Yeah, I don't know. Sue Zaccardo, who helps out with Cy in the afternoon. Yeah, Joe's wife.
Yeah, Joe's daughter. Yeah. He's still down at McGinn.
Joe's wife. I'm talking about. Yeah, he's still down at McGinn.
Yeah.
Still teaching. So.
Teaching math.
Yeah.
Numbers large and small.
Yeah. So what? We haven't asked you in a while. You're in addition to being a celebrity co-host of the show with no name, you're also on the school board. So what's been going on in the school board lately?
Well, we hired a middle school principal.
Okay.
After some time of.
Now, how did I forget? How did the vacancy take place?
The vacancy took place because we had 2 retirees in the elementary schools over the summer.
Okay.
And the principal from Lynch Middle School interviewed and chose to take one of the positions at Marie Curry. So he left, and we've had several interim principals over there to open up school and get things off on the right foot. And Wednesday night we hired a full-time guy to go. Joe Wataczyk, he's from downstate. He's had experience as elementary principal, assistant elementary principal, as a middle school principal. He comes very highly recommended. In the back of your mind, you always say, if it sounds too good to be true, is it really that good? So the district took the
he's probably thinking the same thing.
Yeah. And so the district took the extraordinary step for a principal's position to take a number of committee people down and visit his school district and the school where he is presently employed to get a feel for the building, to get a feel for the population that he's been working with, what his comrades feel, what the staff feels, and everything. And it came back very, very positive that they're going to miss him. And when you hear that part, that kind of makes you feel good. Sometimes they say, yeah, he'll be great at your place. It's kind of like...
now, how old a guy is he?
He's in his 40s. He's in his 40s.
I remember those days?
Yeah.
I don't really. I don't remember much about my 40s at all.
Well, he's got a lot of energy. He's got a lot of enthusiasm. He's been thoroughly trained in the new method of AARP, which is the state teacher evaluation system that...
Wait, it's called AARP?
ARRP, sorry.
ARRP, oh, okay.
Yeah, not yet.
Okay.
The AARP is for us.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
That's right.
And so he's had a lot of experience.
Got my first application when I was 49. I remember that from my 40s.
And he still, I don't belong, but they keep still sending him these stuff.
I know, I don't either.
So hopefully he'll be getting started up here shortly after the first of the year, and it'll be good for the building, be good for the students, be good for the staff and for the district. So
good.
We're very, very, very.
Oh, so he hasn't started yet.
He hasn't started yet. No, the appointment was just made Monday night. He has to give us prerequisite notification, and
oh, sure.
There's
well, it's a natural break too, which is good.
Yeah, and there's some hope that he may be able to get up here a little bit more earlier than the 30 days, but he's got that much. So that was good. And,
so you didn't just jump in and be interim principal yourself and save the district some money and volunteer to do it, or?
No, I did not. I'd have to resign from the school board to do that.
Even if you took it for free?
Yeah,
I guess
yes,
you would.
even if I took it for free. Yeah.
Actually, that'd probably be a violation of somebody's contract.
Yeah, you'd have to be paid at some sort of rate.
That's probably one of the two guys who's not here telling us where they are. Yeah. Why don't you, can you get that? It's probably for you anyway.
The other night, on Tuesday night, the Amsterdam Marching Rams received a recognition. They were the second place finishers in the Schenectady Holiday Parade.
Who beat them?
Mohanison?
Really? Where's
Mohanison?
Because they're from Schenectady County.
There you go. But you know who the third place band?
I thought you were going to tell me it was the Scotia Glenville pipe drum band.
We came in third.
You came in
we
third.
We came in third.
Okay.
Yeah. So we came in third, but they came
So
in third.
the Amsterdam High Band beat the world champions, but you had Perry's in both.
That's right.
Oh, wait a minute. So
yeah.
He's got to be in high school now.
Yeah, Reed is in high school. He's
so which band did he go with?
He went with the marching band.
Oh, well, then that's why.
Could be.
That was the difference. That was a marginal difference between number 2 and number 3.
Yeah.
Wow.
So, and they recognized a whole lot of other categories of folks that were involved, and they were saying it was a beautiful night. It was absolutely gorgeous.
Well, they're holding it a little earlier than and of course Thanksgiving was even earlier this year. It was as early as it could be, I think.
And they had over 20,000 people in attendance to watch it. I mean, it was 10 deep the whole way. And it's not a long parade. It runs basically from SCC up to the block past Proctor. So it's not long.
Oh, that's short.
It is a short parade, but it's just jam with people, and it took.
I guess it would have to be if that's the whole parade route.
It took an hour for our section to step off.
Wow!
Because they've got 4 sections in there, 4 different parts of.
So
down by the
parade itself was longer than the route.
Yes. Yeah.
That's right.
Yeah.
Speaking of parades, my book I've been writing feverishly in the last couple of weeks.
Oh, I'm sorry, not feeling well.
No. The book wasn't feeling well.
Oh, okay.
But yesterday, the day before, I wrote the story of the big parade at the end of the war.
Mm-hmm.
Just amazing. Hugh Donlan wrote the article. I could tell. It has the Donlan touch throughout. That parade started in the East End. I would say
Park?
They started at Cozzens Park, sort of. I guess they marched off from Cozzens Park, but every street in the East End was crammed full of divisions ready to join in. So some of them started at Cozzens Park, and some of them started on every other street down there.
And everything else.
Now they put this together in pretty jig time. The parade was Saturday, September 15, 1945. The surrender took place September 2nd. The formal surrender, and the VE Day was a month earlier, but still, it was a colossal parade.
Yeah, less than a month.
So to give you an idea of how big this parade was, there was an actual count of the participants in the parade. 4,062 participants.
Boy.
30,000 watching the parade. It went from Cozzens Park down East Main Street, I think to Market, and then over Division to basically what we would call the junior high school. It ended at the reviewing stand was the front steps of the old post office, which I think eventually became an administrative building for the school district, right? Which is probably what it was then. They didn't mention that. And then they had a little reception in the junior high for the participants. But the parade itself was 3 miles long. It took an hour and 20 minutes to get past any given point in on the parade route. Just amazing.
Every organization, every club,
Yeah.
every group, every neighborhood had something in that parade.
My grandmother was in charge of the final division. She was the commander of, I think it was the 6th Division. And she had the Gold Star Mothers. Now think about the poignancy of this. The parade starts basically with the Grand Marshal and the guys coming home. And the Grand Marshal was Lieutenant Colonel Charles DeGroff, the hero of Okinawa. You know, who left town as a first lieutenant in 1940 and ends up commanding a battalion in Okinawa. And then they end with the Gold Star Mothers riding in cars, you know. And for those of you who don't know, to be a Gold Star Mother, you had to lose a son in the war. So, I mean, you know, it's great that they're recognized. They should be, you know, but it's going to be kind of a downer for the end of the parade.
Yeah.
But an important thing to remember, because, you know, there is the walking sacrifice, or riding in this case. But in addition to there were 30 unattached floats. There were floats in every division with the different groups that were marching in the divisions. This is Chippy the Wonder Dog. Coming on camera, the official dog of the show. But these were 30 floats that otherwise didn't have a place. So the Bigelow Sanford alone had 3 floats. One was in. I'm trying to think what they all were. One was an honor roll of the men from Bigelow Sanford who had fought in the war. I'm not sure how many there were. I know there were over 1,000 from Mohawk. I forgot the second one. The third one was a working loom from one of the factories that was turning out canvas ducks through the course of the parade. Yeah, it was a functioning loom. They were, you know, they were demonstrating what they had made during the war by making it while the parade's going on. Now, how the heck? I mean, you've seen the pictures how big those looms were. I mean, they had to mount it on some kind of flatbed or something, and then power it. And I'm sure it wasn't just, you know, 110 volt thing. Just amazing, and again, they just threw this all together. Yeah. But you know, one of the ironies is most of the guys weren't home yet.
Right.
There were really probably only a handful had gotten out at that point. I think most of the Company G guys were home. But
and then you have a few guys who are still stateside.
Yeah.
Discharged.
Yeah.
All the guys
people home on leave. A lot of people got home on leave, but they really didn't start discharging them till late in the year. You know, even I mean, even Jack Blanchfield, who had been a POW, didn't get out till December. I guess they figured it was, why should we give him credit for all the time he was loafing around?
That's right.
Prisoner of war camp. Yeah. What was he doing for us?
Yeah, we do it for the guys in jail. We won't do it for them.
They had this, you know, they had this point system. You had so many points for battles and overseas duty and stuff like that. There's a point in the Okinawa campaign where they take a look at everybody's points. I guess they had already started doing it by that point. Now, keep in mind, these guys have been in since 1940. Fought in Saipan. Some of them had fought in the Gilbert Islands as well. And they realized that if they let everybody go who could go, there'd be no half the division would be gone overnight. So they said, well, you know, wait till this battle's over, and then they started discharging them. And the officer corps would have been decimated. It was like they would have lost 2/3 of their officers.
Oh yeah,
something
since
like
most
that.
of them worked their way up. No, you mentioned Saipan. That was what was on World at War.
So
last
I
night.
mean, as a result of that, Lieutenant Thomas Quigley from here gets killed late in the battle when everybody else was already going home because they couldn't afford to let the officers go. or the senior non-coms for that matter. Company G had no Amsterdam officers left by Okinawa. They were either killed or had gone up the ladder and gone somewhere else.
I guess it speaks to the quality of the men that we sent.
Indeed. Then I found a nice story about Arnie Eckelman, who of course was at least a social member of the Bigelow Sanford Uniteds. He had, I don't think he ever played, but he was a big fan, and they let him join the club. And he'd been in the Navy a year before Pearl Harbor. He was at Pearl Harbor aboard a destroyer. Never have found the name of the destroyer he was on.
No.
And I gotta get a hold of Pooj again and see if he knows his son Kevin. He's not on Facebook much, but once in a while I hear from him. Anyway, it's kind of a nice counterpoint. He writes regularly to the Uniteds.
Yes, he did.
And so I've got a lot of quotes from him. And he'll be kind of obscure, but he'll say, well, I'll just come back from 6 days of heavy fighting, can't tell you any more about it, blah, blah, blah. 6 days, yeah. Well, he comes out of that war with 11 battle stars, 3 for the Guadalcanal campaign alone, and then he's everywhere else in the Pacific that something's going on. Iwo Jima, Okinawa, the China Sea, Leyte Gulf, I think Peleliu, I think he was involved in that. You know, it's just, you know, one of his letters talks about how he, you know, well, I got 3 hours of sleep last night. There's, you know, not much time for rest aboard a destroyer. or any place to go. Yeah. Anyway, the counterpoint is the Japanese surrender to MacArthur on September 2, 1945, and Arnie surrenders to Miss Fradiani at St. Michael's Church on the same day.
Who got the better of that deal?
Well, they lived down the street from me. What nice people! What, you know, they were just a great family. I think they lived next door to the Blanchfields, actually. I think so. Yeah, that sounds right. The Blanchfields were 19. I think they were 21. Yeah, Ma Kane was 17. Remember Ma Kane? She used to teach in your school district. Well, she was before our time.
Yeah, I don't remember.
Were she alive, she'd be 110 years old. Great lady. Oh my God, she was like she was stern, and stern and kind at the same time. She made a great nun. Her brother was Monsignor, Monsignor Kane from Schenectady. He was the pastor of St. Luke's. In fact, when my mother moved to Schenectady, I guess she must have gone to that parish because he gave the marriage instructions.
Oh yeah.
When my parents got married. Yeah.
The Canaan conferences, is that what they used to call?
Well, the Cane Canas, the Cana Canes, or something like that. Yeah, Pre-Cana.
Pre-Cana, that's what it was.
Pre-Cana.
Yeah. I remember one of those.
Yeah, and she had a sister Rose who also taught at Amsterdam High. I think they were both English teachers. I know what Margaret was. Always known as Ma Kane. I was with Bob Mannion one time, who was, you know, half a generation older than us, and we run into her someplace, and she said, "I remember you, Mr. Mannion." I used to mow her lawn for her. So she always had a neighborhood kid mow her lawn.
Yeah. Wasn't much of a lawn over there, though.
It was a push mower. She also had edge clippers that you didn't have to actually get down. They were on a pole, so you could stand up and do it.
Yeah.
It was pretty neat. but she was,
Particular?
yeah, 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 yeah. Good though. I mean, really, you know, she always paid well and on
Paid
time.
on time.
And on time, and we got along very well. Very well. Can't remember when she passed away, but I always knew how old she was because she already had her name and her date of birth on her tombstone, and it was right
Really?
right next to my ancestor's tombstone on the in St. Mary's. Yeah, she was born in 1902, same year as my father-in-law. Yeah. Wow, Ma Kane. And you know, when she retired, she never stepped foot in the high school again.
Yeah.
No substitute teaching for her, no nothing. By the way, if you're wondering about the two empty chairs here, we haven't heard from Jim or from Mr. Van Hasselen is supposed to be here today as our special guest, but maybe they'll come for the second hour.
I spoke to him on Wednesday, and we were in his plan in his calendar.
Okay, well, maybe somebody's coming. Should be the Wonder Dog is on the prowl.
Slowly.
Yeah, the other meticulous. In his old age, Art Carter, the former mayor of Amsterdam, was the sacristan, I believe, at St. Anne's Episcopal Church. Okay.
Yeah.
And he was quite old at that point. We're talking. Well, it was when I was in law school, so 76, 77, somewhere in there when I was still in the rug cleaning business. And they had vandalism at the church where some kids had broken in and they were just horsing around, and they lighted some candles and were running around, and the wax got all over the rugs, and they tracked in. Anyway, they must have had insurance coverage or something, so they had me come in, and it was a nice job because it seemed like there were acres of rug. It was great. You know, they charged by the square foot, and most of it's wide open, so it was easy to do. But Art supervised it, Mayor Carter, and I remember people saying to me, "Oh, poor Art Carter, he's almost blind now. You know, it's what a shame." He found every spot I missed. He calls me up and he says, "A little disappointed in the job. Why don't you come down here and take a look at it again?" It did, and you know there were getting wax up is not, you know, in my ordinary course of business. It doesn't happen that often, but I was skilled in the art at the time, being a professional rug cleaner, and what you do is you lay down a terry cloth towel, and you put a hot iron over it. You heat it, and the wax gets sucked up into the towel. Well, there were a lot of little spots, and anyway. So anyway, ultimately he was pleased with the job. So yesterday I got to write about Art Carter in the war, which he was mayor. I think he was first elected in 1933. So his term pretty much corresponded with Franklin Roosevelt's presidency up to the point where he went to war. And he and Roosevelt were friends. In addition to being political allies, they actually knew each other, I think, from the time he was governor, because Art was also the Democratic county chairman, as well as mayor during that time period. And according to reliable sources, our city historian, he's not here yet. Good, I can talk about him. He won't watch the show, will he? Okay. President Roosevelt personally named the cruiser USS Amsterdam as a favor to Mayor Carter.
I didn't know that.
Up to that point, the presidents never really got involved in the naming of the ship. It was usually the Secretary of the Navy made the final call or whatever. And Roosevelt, I don't know if we'd call it pulling rank, but he requested and received. And a lot of ships were built during the war, but the USS Amsterdam, or at least the first one, was laid down before the war. and it was there had been a I don't know what you call it, a drive, or at least a push by the Bergen Post, American Legion, to name a ship after the city of Amsterdam. I don't know why. It ultimately seemed like a good idea, and the first one, they decided to turn it into an aircraft carrier instead as the war came along. The keel had already been laid before the war, and so they scrapped that, and then the later cruiser Amsterdam was commissioned, I think, in '44. And the original aircraft carrier, now I can't remember the name of it, but the original USS Amsterdam ended up being blown up at the Bikini atomic bomb test.
Oh yeah, that's one of the guinea pigs.
And actually not successfully. It was still
afloat.
It was still afloat, and they ultimately towed it back off, I think, off the coast of Southern California someplace, and
sank it there.
Sank it there. They used it for target practice, and now it's a reef.
Hmm.
Cool, huh?
Yeah.
Art Carter. Art Carter, we were talking about. So I'm reading all these accounts, and they passed a law. The state legislature passed a law saying that any elected official who went into the service could hold his position open, and somebody would replace him in the interim for the remainder of his term.
Mm-hmm.
And that's how Felix Alisi, who was surrogate judge when he went into the service, stayed officially a surrogate judge, and actually ran for re-election while he was in Italy, and unopposed, and was sworn in by a notary public in Italy, sworn into office, took the oath of office, and Carter was able to technically remain the mayor of the city of Amsterdam. Big mistake. Big mistake. He shows up for his last Common Council meeting, and this just goes to show you the more things change, the more they stay the same.
Yeah.
The Common Council is split 4-4. 4 Republicans and 4 Democrats.
We had 8 wards back then.
8 wards. And all the organizational stuff had been decided by the mayor casting a vote on the tie, so that there were Tom Tighe, who later became postmaster, was the city clerk, and stuff like that. And who's the vice president of the council, which is what we now call the deputy mayor, was the vice president of the council back then. And they're all 2-year terms, so Carter had been elected 5 times at that point. So he shows up for his final meeting in his captain's uniform, and you'd think the meeting would be all about, hail and farewell, old lang syne, and all that stuff. No. I think they decided, I don't know how, obviously a lot of thought didn't go into the meeting in advance, because it degenerated almost immediately. The 4 Republicans are obviously on one side. The 4 Democrats are split down the middle. I think somebody had the bright idea of, let's name the new acting mayor now. And it could have been anybody. They can name anybody mayor. They could have named you mayor if you were 18 years old at the time, or 21 probably. So I think the thought was, we better do this while Carter's still here and can break the tie.
That's right, because
right?
That's how the vote's going to go.
So John Klobakowski, I think he was probably the alderman of the 4th Ward, is nominated by one of the other aldermen. One of the other Democrats nominates Tighe, the city clerk. And these guys are split 2-2. There's 2 votes for Klobakowski, him and the guy who nominated him, and 2 votes for Tighe. the other two aldermen. And I think they were aligned with Carter. Now, which is already getting it. It's already getting a little shaky.
Yeah.
The Republican, one of the Republicans, then nominates Wilbur H. Lynch, the former superintendent of schools, who was so old they had already named the school after him. Carter immediately rules that nomination out of order, rightfully so, but try to convince the four guys who are in favor of it, right? Why? And now they start arguing. Oh, why is it out of order? Because the law said the law providing that the mayor could walk away and keep the title. The law said that the interim person had to be a person of the same political faith as the person leaving office. And Carter had already sat down with Thomas E. Dewey to discuss this matter, the governor of New York, and Dewey's counsel at the time, his personal counsel, the governor's counsel, was Charles Breitel, who later became Chief Judge of the Court of Appeals under Rockefeller, interestingly enough. I forget, I think Carter brought, who was it? Was it Ralph Kurlbaum or one of those guys? One of those old Democrat lawyers was his corporation counsel at the time, and went with him and explained that's, well, what do I have to do? So they had it all down. It's just, I guess I forgot to share it with the Common Council. So, well, I don't go to as many meetings as you do with the governor, so I don't know what's what's out of order. And so now they start arguing, and Carter's. So they call a recess. They call a recess, and the council meets in secret someplace. They could do that. It was before the open meetings law. And they come back, and there's a motion to table. And the motion passes with 6 votes: the 2 Klobakowski votes and the 4 Republicans. Because the Republicans teamed up with the Klobakowski faction to keep Carter's guy from becoming, because they didn't want Tighe to be mayor going into the election, which was only a few months away. So the Republicans were getting ready to nominate Lynch anyway. So as a result, there never is a consensus reached. And Klobakowski serves as acting mayor nevertheless because he's vice president of the council for the remainder of the year, but doesn't get the title. And forever after, the residents of the 4th Ward were really pissed off at Carter for not getting their guy in to be the first Polish mayor of the city of Amsterdam. And a little footnote: when John Gomulka finally becomes the first Polish mayor 24 years later, there's a plaque in City Hall listing all the former mayors. Klobakowski got a brass plate for May to December 1943. Yeah. So Nunc Pro Tunc, I think it was, I don't know whether he was already dead at that point or not, but Nunc Pro Tunc, John Klobakowski became the first Polish mayor of the city of Amsterdam. But now, then there's a motion to adjourn, which also has a 6-2 vote. The 2 Tighe aldermen voting against because they want to keep this thing going. And the motion to adjourn passes. The 6 get up and leave the room. And nobody says a word to Carter. Been mayor for 10 years, and his last meeting is just a total disaster.
Kind of like the Ukrainian Assembly, yeah?
Like the Ukrainian Assembly. I saw that and I said, I've seen this act before.
Holy cow.
Wow. We'll get into that in a second because I do want to discuss that, and you've got maybe some first-hand knowledge of this, but 20 years later, 1963, Art Carter decides he wants to make a comeback. 30 years after he was first elected mayor, he decides he wants to run for mayor again. Fred Partika comes out and challenges him, loses in the primary to Carter, but in November, the 4th Ward, which was about 6-1 Democrat, voted for Republican Marcus Breyer for mayor of the city of Amsterdam, and that's how Breyer became mayor. And Carter lost his comeback, and all because, and by that time, you know, the story was wild. What became common knowledge was wildly wrong, and it's not like Carter could name his successor anyway. The guys were split. Anyway. But maybe he was for Tig. I don't know. But that was if he was, that was behind closed doors. And I think Tig became the candidate that fall and lost to Lynch in '43 because of that. Because of the split.
Right. I think you're right.
Well, he later became postmaster forever. He was he was postmaster when I was born and postmaster when we moved here. I think he was sort of related into our family too. On top of that,
really?
It seems to me that the Tig kids were raised for a while by my father's step grandmother, my grandfather's stepmother, who had actually raised him because his own mother died young, and I think it seems to me that the Tigs were niece and nephew of hers, and
a couple more branches on the family tree. A couple more branches on the family tree.
Did you see Tony Benjamin got hooked into my family tree?
No.
Honest to God, fairly closely. My great aunt, Agnes Going, my grandfather's sister, married John Koch, and John Koch's brother married Tony's aunt. So we have.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, by my standards, that's really close.
Yeah, right.
But in other words, he's got cousins who are cousins of my cousins. I mean, he's related to them. I'm related to them the same way I'm related to the Betzes, which is not at all, but cousins of cousins. Which is close enough that we'd see each other at wakes, especially if it was at Betz's. Isn't that something?
Yeah.
And we just discovered that because I posted my great-grandparents'
I saw it. I've been
picture.
watching the pictures you've been putting up.
Oh, I was so thrilled to get that because I had known of its existence for 30-something years when my father's cousin, Orcelia Perkins, told me about it. She was a sister to Nora Hardy's and Margaret Lewison and Mary McNamara's and Catherine Jablonski. And they were cousins of the Betzes on the Koch side. So, because John Betz's mother was a Koch. She was a sister to the other two that we were just talking about.
Their company.
Who's here? Hey, okay, finally. Come on in. Just come in and sit down. Oh, okay. Yeah, I'm holding a chair for you. Holding a pot of coffee for you.
Oh, hello.
How are you, sir?
Good. Wash that hand.
Oh, you got your own coffee. Oh,
Yes, I
got a refill for
better
you.
not to contaminate anybody.
Right, here we go. City historian and economic development director and all sorts of other things. President of the Historic Amsterdam League and former military historian for the state of New York. And what's your rank?
Lieutenant Colonel.
Okay, Lieutenant Colonel Robert von Hasseln. Yay.
Hey.
This is where we insert the fake applause.
Okay.
Sound
good.
effect.
Good.
Okay.
So where are you guys at? Are you your first hour or second hour?
We're in the middle of the first hour.
Oh, middle of the
Towards
first.
the end of
You
the
started
first
late, huh?
Well, I've actually got a clock here. Yeah. Yeah, we started late. Because we were waiting for you and Jim, and we still haven't heard from Jim, I don't think. I don't know where he is. Maybe he forgot his Friday.
Might be baking
Yeah,
bread.
he might be baking bread for Christmas.
That's right.
So we haven't seen you in a while. A lot of stuff going on. Huh?
Busy. Yeah. And with all the hats, sometimes it's, you know, I keep them all lined up on the back of the office door, and it's like, which one do I take out today? Yeah, I've been busy with not only economic development, community development, the HAL, I should have brought you guys. In fact, I think I have them in the car.
The calendars.
The calendars,
Yeah.
yes. And when
I haven't even seen it yet.
we take a break, I'll go out and get a couple.
Oh.
And the winter mixer, which I think was very much a success this year, and hundreds of people. Not only you could tell the difference. I think the best thing that anybody said to me, and I heard this from a couple of people, is it reminded them of the old downtown in that all the parking spaces were filled up. And, the first year you had people walking on the street, but not so much inside. The second year, you didn't see anybody on the street. The third year, we had people walking on the street, mixing as we hope, but we also had all the interior locations were pretty much filled up.
Well, now I saw the book count said there would be no reading this year because we couldn't find readers and there's no space. Well, really, there was no space because I would have been happy to go down and be a reader again as I was last year.
I think
there wasn't much space then either. Once you get people in there,
No.
he's kind of full of books.
Yep.
Yeah.
And he was jammed this year with people. Plus, he had the art exhibit, which Phil Leipard's parents, their artwork, which is quite interesting. It's the same thing up at the vendors' booths. This is something we had for the first time. We had vendors, but we took 2 of the unused spaces on downtown and opened them up so that people could get in out of the cold and do a little Christmas
That's
shopping.
cool.
It was great, yeah. Some of the vendors told me they made $500 in 4 hours, and Joanne Cakes got an opportunity to show up her wares, which is good because she's going to be going into GWIB. Where you guys used to.
Well, it's about time.
Yeah.
But unfortunately, the place is half the size it used to be, and there probably won't be room for us to go back.
But they're good cupcakes, though, so it's worth thinking about. So the winter mixer went well. And
You're going to be baking breads and as well, or just cakes and pies like Freddie Freihoffer?
Basically, it's cakes and pies, but she will be serving coffee, so which I still pronounce like a downstater, I'm told. So you'll be able to go in and have some of the wonderful pastries and have a cup of coffee, which would be nice. I was trying to get her down onto Main Street, but she'd already signed the lease. So maybe for future.
Well, good for Susie.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
And then just busy with 10,000 projects at the city. So many things going on right now. And how about you guys?
No, nothing much.
We'll make something up.
No. I've been really going to town on my book in the last couple of weeks, writing furiously every day.
Now, how long do you envision the book being when you're finished?
Right now it's about 100,000 words, although I cut back quite a bit last night and this morning. The stuff that I may put back in another format somewhere else. I all of a sudden realized I had cut out nearly an entire chapter, so now I have to put something in there. So probably the Italian campaign, which I haven't focused on much. But,
Well, I thought you were going chronologically because the last email I got from you was the Battle of Okinawa.
well, yes, but
almost done.
yeah, almost done. Except there's stuff in the middle that was really more placeholders than anything else. It was almost like a list of everybody who died and how they died. And it doesn't make for particularly interesting reading that way. But the stories just keep getting...
For sure.
I think we talked on last week's show about the Guadalcanal, and boy, I learned a lot just jumping around, following everybody's story there. Have you ever read this book? This is called The Battle of Savo Island, or it might be pronounced Sabo because it was Spanish. Well, this is about the first battle of Savo Island.
Which is fine.
Very good book, Richard Newcomb, and it was comes highly recommended by the author of the Guadalcanal Diary. Actually.
Really?
Richard.
Yeah. I'll give you that after I pull the notes out of it. But I paid $1 for it up in Lake Placid, and it's great. And it turned out, there were a couple guys from Amsterdam involved in that first battle. One of whom got sunk.
Have you ever seen the movie The Desperate Hours with James Cagney? It's basically about that naval campaign. And
I thought The Desperate Hours was Frederick March about the kid being kidnapped.
There might be
and Humphrey Bogart was the villain. No?
There might be. There can be more than one. You know,
Yeah, it could
you can't copyright a title.
All right.
But no, as I recall it, and I admit I'm a little under the weather. The Desperate Hours, James Cagney. It's about those naval battles, and what a lot of Americans don't remember, after all, since we won the war, is how close.
How close we came to losing it.
Several times.
Yeah.
This battle is just, I mean, I talked about it in some detail last week, but this battle is amazing, and we never hear about it. And the fact of the matter is, I mean, it's hard to realize now, because we've had this amphibious navy and these great sea battles and victory at sea and all that. This was really the first naval battle ever fought by the U.S. Navy. Up to that point, you had ship-on-ship stuff, like during the War of 1812, and occasional skirmishes in the Civil War. And I'm excluding the Battle of Manila Bay, because that was really just a shooting fish in a barrel. I mean, they just came, they blew everybody up. The guys were on deck snapping pictures of the Spanish fleet being destroyed.
They actually stopped to have breakfast before they finished the job.
Yeah. And then, they welcome the Spanish admiral aboard ship. He presents his sword. They give him back. They take him down for breakfast. But this was actually the first time that a fleet of ships from our Navy met a fleet of ships from the other Navy and engaged in direct combat. The first time ever.
Yeah. Well, except for the small fleets on the Great Lakes during the war.
Well, and that was really one-on-one stuff for the most part.
Yeah.
Yeah. So there was nothing during World War I.
Mainly anti-submarine.
In fact, the Guadalcanal landings were the first amphibious attack by the United States since a Veracruz expedition in 1847.
Yeah, Mexican War.
It came a few weeks before the Operation Torch in North Africa. Don't worry about it. Just a tchotchke. But we don't think about that.
No,
and Guadalcanal was touch and go for 6 months.
Desperately so.
The thing about this battle, we not only get clobbered in this battle. We have 6 cruisers and a bunch of destroyers. 4 of the cruisers are sunk, and 1 is seriously injured in what's essentially a half-hour battle. And fortunately, the Japanese retreat, because they could have destroyed the whole support fleet, all the transports and supply ships that were unloading for the Marines at Guadalcanal, but they were afraid of the aircraft carriers. They decided to back up the channel, back up the slot, and get out of range of the aircraft carriers, which they didn't know where they were, but they knew where they were someplace. Well, they were wrong, because we'd already pulled the aircraft carriers out of there. And they could have absolutely destroyed the Guadalcanal operation completely. As it was, the next morning, the American fleet pulls out, what's left of it, after all the sinkings. After they pick up the survivors, they skedaddle out of there, and they leave the Marines alone.
Yeah.
Yeah. So pretty much they accomplished their tactical goal.
And they were gone.
They separated the Navy from the Marine Corps.
So now the Marines are out there. It's 1st Division of Marine 1st Division. All alone on Guadalcanal, facing a considerable Japanese defensive force, with no air cover and no supplies. Most of their supplies went back into the ocean. So now they're going on half rations. Fortunately, they captured some Japanese rice, which kept them going for a while. Notwithstanding this is the 9th of August. By later that day, they've captured what became Henderson Field, the Japanese air base, which was not completed by the Japanese. It was not open yet. In 3 days,
Yeah, up and going.
with the place surrounded by Japanese troops. Lieutenant William Sampson from Amsterdam flies the first plane into the newly named Henderson Field. 3 days after the fleet leaves, and they've got nothing and no promise of anybody else coming in. And what, a week after that, they land a couple of squadrons of Marine fighters and bombers, and from that point on, the war is over for the Japanese, and they just haven't figured it out yet. But every night for months, the Japanese come down the slot and control the sea lanes all around Guadalcanal, land supplies and troops at will at night, and get out by the next morning.
Maybe.
Just incredible.
Yeah.
And then we get the second battle, and there's like six major naval battles in and around Guadalcanal.
Santa Cruz, Cape Esperance.
Fantastic.
One of the things the current generations don't have a good appreciation of this, particularly when they watch movies like the more modern Pearl Harbor, because you get the impression, besides the screwy Louis romance, you get the impression that basically Pearl Harbor was terrible, but then we came back and bombed Tokyo, and from there it was just, things were on the up, and they weren't. This was terrible. It was quite a surprise in these series of battles down in the area around Guadalcanal, where the Japanese were outfighting us. They had better optics, better torpedoes, better training in night fighting. Radar hadn't come aboard for us yet.
Yeah, this is one of those things. We had primitive radar at the first Battle of Sabuai, and it wasn't working. One radar was down already, and the other one broke just before the battle, and they actually got a radio technician up in the middle of the night to work on it, and he finally gets it fixed. Only it's too late. There they are. It just.
Even in those days when it worked, it didn't work all that well.
Yeah.
I mean, it's not like when you see the modern movies where they're looking at the screen and they're like, "Here he comes! I can see him."
Oh, the other thing, it's interesting, reading about this battle from sources written in different time frames. Because if you read something written in 1946 or 1953, it doesn't mention anything about how we broke the Japanese code. All right. So we broke the Japanese code, but it turns out they changed the code like the day before this battle.
Right.
So we lost that advantage.
Yeah.
We have the spotter planes actually seeing this, not sure they know what they're seeing, and they wait 18 hours before the word finally gets to the Navy. A lot of mistakes were made, but it was the first time they were doing this stuff.
Sure.
The captains of the cruisers that got sunk had all put in 20-hour days at that point, and had just gone to sleep like half an hour before the battle starts, and they're shaking themselves awake trying to make split-second decisions on what to do. But
there's some great admirals that were involved in that battle too, but they're not very well known in American history. Certainly not as much as like Halsey or Nimitz or Spruance. But they were big gun ship admirals, and a couple of them in that series of battles won the Medal of Honor for distinguished service, slogging it out with the Japanese. Jesse Ohlendorf, as I recall, was one of them. I'm trying to remember the quote. I remember during the battle, his strategy was pretty direct. His advice to his gunners would pick out the biggest one and fire. It was his entire command philosophy. One of the things I wanted to tell you, in case you hadn't seen it, is I've loaned you a couple of books about New York City during World War II. Give you an idea of some of the kind of things that other people write about other cities, or bigger cities. But New York Historical Society is about, if they haven't already, opening up a major exhibit on New York City in World War II.
Ah. And you had lent me that book similar to mine on New York City in World War II. Of course, they had a lot more to choose from than I did. They actually had Germans landing on Long Island. We didn't have any.
Not far from where I used to live. That was an interesting story too.
Let's break here. We're done with the first hour.
Yeah.
Right? Okay, we're going to break here and be right back shortly. More with historian of everything, Robert Van Hassel, and Gavin Murdoch. I'm Bob Going, and we'll be back momentarily with more of the show with No Name.